Welcome to the CyCon Machine Learning Tool tutorial. In this video, we're going to be discussing the perceptron algorithm. So before we cover perceptron, let's talk a little bit about artificial neural networks. These are machine learning algorithms that are designed to imitate functions of the human brain and human neurons. During the process of artificial neural network learning, data is introduced to the algorithm and parameters are used to output a prediction. The weights and biases, which determine the strength of connections within the network, are adjusted to improve performance and provide better predictions in response to new data and conditions. Perceptron is a very simple artificial neural network, typically used for binary classification. It works best on data that can be divided into two categories with a straight line. Components of perceptron are as follows: input features, which represent characteristics of input data; weights, which are an input feature's influence on the output; the summation function, which calculates the weighted sum of inputs; the activation function, which compares that weighted sum to a threshold to produce a binary output; the output itself, which is the predicted binary classification; bias, which adjusts the perceptron independent of the input to improve learning; and the learning algorithm, which allows the perceptron to adjust weights to minimize prediction error. There are multiple steps to the perceptron. The first being that each input is assigned a weight that denotes its importance when determining the output. Then the weighted sum of the inputs is calculated. And finally, the activation function compares the sum to a threshold. If the input is larger than the threshold value, the output becomes 1. Otherwise, the output is 0. During the training, weights are adjusted to minimize the difference between the predicted and actual outputs. So this visual shows you what the perceptron does. You have your inputs here, and each input is assigned an associated weight, which are all plugged into the summation function to output your weighted sum. That weighted sum goes into the activation function, which determines if it surpasses the set threshold, and then some sort of output is predicted. For our example today, we're going to be using phytomining data. Phytomining being the cultivation of special plant species with the goal of harvesting them to obtain metals from soil. Input features within this data may include species and variety, tissue type, such as roots versus shoots, the accumulated element, and the concentration of that element within the plant. This is an example of the data we'll be using today. We have data for plant species, variety, block number, tissue type, dry mass in grams, and the total rare earth element concentration in parts per million within the tissue. Unfortunately, the program can't use this data as is, so we need to pre-process it to turn the columns with textual data into numerical data. So this is the data after pre-processing. As you can see, the species, variety, and tissue columns have been turned into numerical data. And for our predicted feature today, we're going to be looking at species. All right, so this is the CyCon machine learning tool. I've already named my project and added a short description. For my data type, I've selected tabular and uploaded a CSV file containing my grass data. My target label, which is the one I want to predict, I've selected as species. I've chosen machine learning algorithm for the method. And for the actual algorithm, of course, I've chosen perceptron. And for my evaluation metrics, I've chosen accuracy. Now I'm going to click perform. So these are my results here. You can see my accuracy score. And then over here, it can actually show you the y-test versus y-predict features. So the y-test are the values actually within the data set, and the y-predicted values are what the algorithm has predicted. We can go back to our evaluation metrics and pull up our confusion matrix, and that can actually show us the data that the perceptron has misclassified and see where it is struggling. All right, that has been the CyCon machine learning tool tutorial for Perceptron. Thank you for watching.